This is Marketing Jam, a show featuring the brightest minds in marketing. Marketing Jam is brought to you by Cyber Impact, the email marketing platform made specifically for Canadian small businesses. Go to cyberimpact.com/jelly, create a free account, and start sending CASL-compliant promotional emails in just a few clicks.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Marketing Jam. My name is Shaheed and I'm glad you could join us for another exciting episode of the show. I'm of course here in Fort Langley, British Columbia, the home place of and the birthplace of British Columbia. And our guest today is joining us from Montreal, Canada. It's Anne from Yellow Pages Canada. Anne, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for making the time today.
Thank you.
So why don't you first tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do at Yellow Pages.
Yeah, so my name is Anne Coqueugniot. I'm a product manager for Yellow Pages Canada, and I'm overseeing the partnership between Google and YP, and ensure that we're unlocking all the Google My Business and Google Ads solutions for Canadian SMBs.
Okay, perfect. So Yellow Pages is a very big name, and it's associated, I guess, historically with the book, the directory. Is that still around? And if not, how have things changed? When did they change? Well,
we're still printing books where we're still delivering, performance for our advertisers, and we have users who are still consuming the information available in these books. But YP is not just the books anymore. I would say it started early 2000s. That we started to, do other stuff than just the books that everyone knows. But being our core mission is to connect businesses and people. So it's just a matter to find where those people are. And before, people were not on the internet, not on mobile, but with the technology that evolved, we also evolved and changed the solutions that we are offering to SMBs to reach their consumers. So we're like fully also digital, offering a solution, advertising solution on Google, Facebook, websites. We also have our own properties online that are really strong and generating a lot of traffic in Canada. So we're not just a print book anymore, for sure.
Right. So what does your day-to-day look like? You've been with the company, from what I understand, over 6 years now.
Yes.
So what does it look like now, and what did it look like when you started? How has that changed for you personally?
So I would say I started on the digital side. So I never worked on the print side. I really started on the campaign management side for Google Ads, and then slowly, moved via different opportunities within the company, moved to management of the teams, and then moved to marketing and working, developing solutions for SMBs and working with great partners.
Okay, so you talk about starting on the digital side and digital ads being, a big part of what you're talking about. How important do you find it these days for small businesses to be playing in the digital ad landscape? Would you say that is essential these days for them to have success and to reach the right people?
Yeah, I think it's essential because this is, where people are. We're all, looking at our phones for information. Or in our laptops when we're home. So this is where we're finding the information, and we're looking for information. So we expect to find the information there. So it's essential for a business to be there, otherwise their competition will be there for sure. So so if you don't want to leave these opportunities to your competitors, you have to be there.
So in the early days of social media for business and even digital ads for business, as we know them today, there was more pushback from small businesses because they were skeptical about what it can provide. I assume there's less pushback these days, especially from what the work we're doing here at Jelly with our clients. Digital ads is a big part of what we do. But What are some of the challenges that you still face with working with small businesses and in the digital ad landscape?
So I would say at the beginning it was more a matter of, educating and knowing what it is. Now everyone knows what Google and Facebook are, and what they can deliver, the type of results they can deliver. People talk to each other as well. So obviously, if someone has success on these platforms, others will follow. I would say one of the main objections that we would get today, and I don't think it's specific to digital, but more to all type of advertising, is competition is extremely high and always goes up. And unfortunately, with this goes the cost. So it costs you more now to advertise on this channel than 5 years ago for the same type of business, because you have more and more people who are going on to advertise on these platforms. So this is one of the objections, mostly for the early adopters who've been used to pay a certain amount, and now they're seeing that it costs them more to generate results. It's still generating good results and positive return on investment for them, but it's just the conversation to have with them. Then unfortunately in today's market it costs more, and it's something that is out of our hands. It's out of every agency's hands. So it's just competition. Yeah.
What are some of the suggestions you might give to a small business or even an agency? Now, maybe you don't want to reveal any trade secrets, but if it's one side you throw more money into it, but is there another side where there are some things that people can do to maximize their efficiency?
Yeah. So with all the new technologies and evolution of also these platforms, you can be more targeted. So if you've been there, you know what works and what not doesn't work, but works less. So you can focus on what works the best if you're more limited by budget. Being more focused on the type of targeting, but also diversify the channels you're operating on. So don't invest all of your money on one channel, because usually just the fact to invest a bit on all of them will have a bigger overall impact than if you just put all your money into one channel.
Yeah, and that's interesting for me to hear, because obviously, your day-to-day job is focused around, the product of Google, and there are alternatives, of course, in Facebook and others. Do you find that they play well together, or one works better than the other, or does it really depend on what the business and the product is?
Well, I think it's, depend on your objective as well. Do you want to generate, calls right away? Well, I would push more a platform like Google, where you can call directly from the SERP, or our own and operated platform, where we're generating a lot of calls for the advertisers, where they are like more conversion driven, and you have other channels where it's more managing your brand, your image, and just being always at the back of everyone's head. So when they're like looking for your service, they remember your name. So it's really depending on where you at, what's your objective and where you at. Are you starting to advertise, or are you already familiar with online advertising, and then you can just improve your solution? But it's like, I would recommend to first start small, really focus, generate leads, so you can also generate revenue for your business, because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, generate business for our customers, and then they can improve where they appear online.
Right. Now, objectives notwithstanding, a lot of small businesses have a tough time finding marketing dollars. So,
Yeah.
A lot of the time they want to come in and see an impact right away, but budgets are small. So, in that instance, how long do you recommend testing and gathering data and almost trying things out with obviously the hope to bring in leads and conversions, but if that doesn't happen right away, a lot of businesses might want to pull the plug because they don't have a lot of money to play with. What's a good time period to give yourself as a business to make sure you're doing the most you can in that initial phase?
I would say at least 6 months from the beginning, just to have time to, for the person who's managing your campaign to do all the adjustments that are required and adjust also based on your objective, because you may not know exactly what you want when you start advertising, and so you can just adjust, and then you can see is it a good fit for you or not. From what we've seen from all the campaigns that we've managed is we're delivering results, but then it's also a matter of perception of the value that has been generated. So what's good is we can really track performance, but it's a tough time also for SMBs to find marketing dollars. So start small, but also be aware of the market you're evolving in. So if you're starting too small and all your competitors are investing 10 times what you're investing, they would get all these opportunities because they will be in front of you every time. So it's more like, yes, start small, but also being aware of what's your market and industry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about knowing what you want and that taking time to find out. But would you agree that it takes time to also find out what your audience is looking for, and what you're trying might not match up with what the audience is looking for, and so that obviously takes some time too.
Yeah. So that's why you cannot unfortunately you cannot expect to have results day one. You may receive great results from day one, but you have to be ready to be patient for I would say 6 months to you should have more optimal results after 6 months.
Right. So you talked a little bit about evolution there, and certainly we mentioned that in the 6+ years that you've been doing this in the digital side for Yellow Pages Canada, things have certainly changed, and things continue to change with Google and Facebook and the way that the ad landscape is. Where do you see it going in the short term? This year, where do you think small businesses should be focusing their marketing dollars on the digital ads side this year, and where do you see things going in the big picture 5 years from now? How different will it look?
So I would say really invest in your content. We often tend to focus on results, how many calls, how many sales did my campaign generate, but often the base of your performance is coming from your content. You can have a great campaign, but if your ads or your website is not clear, people won't call you. Or if you have bad reviews online, you have a bad reputation. People will see you, but they will be like, well, no, I don't want to do business with them. So focus on your content, your image, because it's really both of them are really linked. So then every dollar that you invest, you can expect to have a good return. But the first, the base is your content. So for online, I would say ensure all your information are up to date everywhere. Google My Business is becoming huge. It was kind of the Google's lonely child at one point, but now it's really the center of all of a lot of their solutions. So put focus on it. What else? We're seeing. I find it's more accessible now for SMBs to use videos. than it used to. It was always, really a ground for national brands because it costs to generate videos. But now with technologies, new technologies, we can produce video for way cheaper than before and still have a professional look. So I'm seeing more and more, advertisement for SMBs than I used to. Voice search is becoming also, it's like, we've
That's
seen
maybe
it.
the next big one, right?
Exactly. We've seen it coming, but it was always like how we play. But with Google testing ads the last couple of weeks on their assistant, it's like, okay, it's coming maybe faster than we thought to have ads on voice search. So it's again another channel where businesses will be able to advertise on.
How exactly do you see that working? Give us an example of what ad in voice search might be.
So right now, from a bit what we've seen, like they will unlock it. They're really taking the ads, irregular text ads that we've seen on the SERP and just displaying it on the assistant or just giving you the answer. If you're asking for, where is the closest florist in the area, they will give you right away this information. But it might be a florist that advertised. So I'm really curious to see how they will be able to show that this is an ad. If it's only via voice, because on the SERP it's clearly indicated, okay, this is an ad you're clicking on. But how?
Yeah, and you also have the opportunity to look at the other organic search results there. But when you're in voice search, you're being served result. Maybe only one answer, right? Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how they will balance this, because right now it's a big interrogation mark, because we know it's coming, but it's really unclear on what will be the form of this ad.
Yeah, and you can see it being quite popular among users because you don't need to take out a device if it's in your house, or you don't need to open a web page or anything. It's just with a click of a button or even activation with your voice. So certainly I think we can probably all agree that it's coming. Just like you said, how it'll play out is the question.
Yeah, that will be really interesting to see, and that's why it's even more important to optimize your content and take control of your content online, because we're not sure what will be the source of information for these ads.
Right. So with the popularity of digital advertising has come an uptick in people and agencies that do this type of work. Obviously Yellow Pages does it, we do it here, and there are so many other agencies and people that do it, and small businesses have the option to do it themselves. So I'm wondering, what Yellow Pages is doing in Canada to kind of keep up with all the changes, and what sort of the value proposition is for a small business to want to work with Yellow Pages.
Yeah, so we've been really focusing on providing the tools for SMBs to compete with big players. And to do so, we've invested a lot in partnerships with big companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, to ensure that everyone can go and advertise on Google, on Facebook, or manage their page. But do they have access to all the tools and supports from these big companies? Then it's a different story. Here we've built real partnerships with them to being able to offer technologies, and this is only we have partnerships with companies like Facebook, Google, but we also have partnerships with technologies company to manage your campaign more efficiently. We all know that with all the algorithm change, etc. A human cannot, take all the right decision at the right time. And sometimes it's better to, use machine learning to take the right decision. But unfortunately, those technologies there is an entry price to have access to them, and an SMB doesn't have the mean to use these tools. But here, because we're managing a lot of campaigns for a lot of SMBs across Canada, we're able to sign this type of agreement and partnerships with platforms, and then our customers can benefit from it. So it's really, we're the intermediate, like between our advertisers who don't have access to some big players in the market, so they can always be on top. Every other day there's an innovation that is launched, so they can really focus on their business, and we can focus on bringing customers to their business.
Right. So with that being said, say that there's a small business that decides not to work with Yellow Pages and decides not to work with Jelly, and wants to kind of go about this on their own because they don't have that budget. What's some of the best advice that you can give to them today, aside from maybe, like you had mentioned already, focusing on the content as the cornerstone? What's some other advice that you would give to a small business who wants to get into that digital ad landscape?
I will tell them to be aware that even if it seems easy to set up, because we can create automated campaigns, be aware that it may be time consuming to manage. So just for them to be aware of it, because obviously they can do it themselves if they have the time, they have the expertise. There is a bunch of webinars online where they can learn and educate themselves. But if they're managing it by themselves, really start small, because you can go you can spend a lot of money really fast, and if you're managing it yourself, maybe you don't have systems in place that will cap your spend and say, well, no, we said we will spend only this amount, just stop. So be aware that it can cost you a lot really fast, and time is also money. So it's you have to choose. Do you have time to invest in your advertisement, or do you have time to invest in your business? It's in running your business. So it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
But,
tough choice for sure. So with everything changing so quickly, and like you said, new innovations every day, what are some of the resources that you turn to to help keep yourself informed and educated in this environment?
So newsletter to stay informed. A lot of communications between the different campaign managers. We're testing different things, like resharing what we've learned, because that's what's nice when you're managing a lot of campaigns, is you can learn a lot from what you've seen. You're not seeing results for one type of business. You can share what you've learned from running one dentist campaign for another dentist campaign, because you've seen that, okay, it's working for this type of business. So really sharing information between the different employees. We also have great partners that keep us informed when there are new stuff coming up. So we have the opportunity to test betas and have support. So if something big is happening, to almost instantly having a call and a training session about it. So that's really how we stay up to date, more on the technical side, and otherwise it's really reading the news.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been a really fun chat and really informative. Is there anything else you wanted to add or leave with our listeners and viewers?
No, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks again. That's Anne from Yellow Pages joining us from Montreal, Canada. And if you want to check out this show and others, you can always visit marketingjam.ca for previous shows and ones to come in the future. Thanks again for tuning in.